My name's Tim the Whirlwind Close. I'm a professional MMA fighter. I fight out of Kirkburn MMA, Iron Fist MMA, and I also train with Paul Hubbard at the Unity. I didn't come from a boxing background or a kickboxing or a judo or wrestling, so I would say I'm an all-round MMA fighter, but I would definitely prefer to say stand-up is probably me. I would edge me strength with. It's in my blood. I've done it from being a kid. Feel probably a bit lost when I don't do it. Yeah, it keeps my mind ticking. It keeps us something to focus on. And you know, along the way I've met some great people. So there's nothing I can pull. There's not many negatives I can pull away from the fighting.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining us for this latest episode of the INC Preview Show. My name's Karl, and joining me as ever, Mr. Tim Close.
How do?
And Mr. Max Grant.
Hello.
And I want to say a big thank you to everybody who's been supporting the channel ever since we moved onto our new studio. The preview shows were always considered a bit of a weak link when it came to the channel. Since we moved to our studio though, we got, I think, 3,300 people watching our last show, which is absolutely fantastic stuff. So any sort of support that you can give to the channel would be really appreciated. So if you donate to patreon.com/it's not cagefighting, any sort of contribution will go towards paying for all of this equipment here. It doesn't come cheap, obviously, renting the television and the microphones, that sort of thing. So any support you can give would be absolutely fantastic.
Nice to see we're getting great numbers. So
it is certainly so. And I mean, as much as I did like the old studio to have this sort of investment, that sort of professionalism, it's sort of like that, treat them like stars, play like stars sort of approach.
Yeah, it did make some.
It
Definitely
does. And we're happy to be recording another big show. 238, of course, I think was fantastic.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed that card, and a lot of big stories to come out of it. Henry Cejudo, double champion, fantastic performance against Marias, especially after the way that first round went. And also Ferguson versus Cowboy, that delivered.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see Ferguson actually putting in a good performance. Like I said, he had some issues outside, but
I think
I'm glad to see he performed well.
If there was a time to beat Ferguson, that was it.
Yeah.
So to see him performing so well, I can see that being quite daunting.
Yeah.
And I think whoever wins between Khabib and Dustin, they've got to look out for Tony Ferguson.
Definitely.
I hope Ferguson Khabib does happen, but as
that's the fight. I know I've always said it, but I want to see that fight happen.
The big story for me when it came out to 238 though, the co-main, that Shevchenko head kick.
Brutal. I've said it before, like that since that. I don't know if I enjoyed seeing it. It was not being sexist towards women or men. I think, you know, the great fighters. There's some women better than men, but that kick, it was brutal.
I could see where you're coming from as well. I even am a bit squeamish when it comes to women's knockouts. I think part of that as well is because women's MMA was always more of a grappling thing.
Definitely.
It was like wrestling and judo. So to see these strikers coming through and delivering stuff like that,
They're more entertaining some of the fights now than the males. It's just
they're scrappy.
But when the actual knockout happens, it's like, oh, blow me! Like you don't keep rewinding them once.
It's the way the Shevchenko set up the kick as well.
Yeah.
If you watch that fight as well, she was hammering Jess with body shots, body kicks throughout. Jess starts realising she's going to go low again. I need to protect myself. Moment she does, Shev goes high.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and honestly, I've said this before. That's one of the oldest tricks in the book. Keep going one part, look up, look low, kick high.
Fantastic it was.
And I mean, unpopular opinion, I have to say this. I would probably say Shevchenko right now is, in my opinion, she's the pound for pound woman. And I know a lot of people say Nunes, but in my opinion, Shev was having all that success when she was fighting at a walk-around weight.
Yeah.
And she was still beating the best. And in my opinion, she beat Nunes at 215.
Yeah.
It's easy.
And I know a lot of people don't like Nunes either, so you can
Definitely, people
sort of
definitely
played
sway
into the
towards.
masses.
you can kind of just go that Shevchenko side, I think.
That being said, though, as impressive as Shevchenko was, I'm intrigued about her next fight because it's a quick turnaround for her. She's going to be fighting Liz Carmouche on the Uruguay card.
Yep.
And Carmouche can cause people a lot of problems as well. In my opinion, she's the strongest woman in that division. Wily veteran. She's fought for a title before. And even though the Jessica Rai fight was arguably a mismatch, I think Carmouche is going to be more competitive.
I think she'll be more competitive. It's just whether I just think Shevchenko has a lot more in her arsenal. I think she has. We said it before the last fight with Shevchenko that she's got so much that she can deliver more kicks, just everything. So either way, I think it's going to be a tough fight for her.
We also have that selling point as well, because the first person to beat Shevchenko was Carmouche. She was on the regional show at Holm. Shevchenko was winning that fight. It got stopped because of the doctors. So there's that sort of air of mystery. It's that sort of like, it's almost sort of like, remember when Jeremy Horn beat Chuck Liddell? He was like the first person to beat Chuck, and then Chuck becomes a big star.
Yeah.
And they run that fight back simply because of the novelty of Jeremy Horn.
But there's no footage on this one.
There's no footage which exists of this fight.
Yeah, I think.
Which again adds to that air of mystery.
Definitely. I think it needed to come out, didn't it?
Yeah, I think Shevchenko will want that win just to kind of erase any of
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
I always find it really strange when, like, I've done 2 videos about this before, about like really notable fighters who lost their first ever match. And like, you must think, if you were say like, I don't know, I beat Cyborg in my debut, if you're that person, what must that be like? When you're like,
I know. Probably you could retire on it. No, definitely. It puts you definitely in good stead, doesn't it?
Because I know the guy who beat Dos Anjos in his first fight, he became like prison warden.
Really? Wow.
It's interesting to put in that fight as well on free TV. It's not something the UFC do all that often. And when we talk about free TV cards, we also talk about what's happening with Strawweight, because that fight's going to be defended at Fight Night Shenzhen, Jessica Andrade's first title defense. There's a lot of people out there who are wondering who Andrade's first opponent could be. Is it going to be Suarez? Joanna rematch? Could Rose potentially get a rematch again? I don't think many people expected it to be Weili Zhang.
Yeah, we discussed this. This is going to be something to break that Chinese market, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a reason behind it.
Yeah, they've like I said, the UFC's business savvy. They know what they're doing. And I tell you another thing. Say Weili won that fight.
It would be massive.
That is a big impact to have as well.
And we think UFC want that win.
I think so as well. Partly because of the Chinese market, but also, dare I say, I don't think Andrade is that media-friendly a champion.
Yeah.
No.
She doesn't do like the interviews. She doesn't do that sort of celebrity circuit. So she's not promoting the company.
No, I know. I've said before, I don't like them when they go on like fake wrestling. But I think they still have to, which I'm not saying that is, I mean, but you do have to come across to the fans as well.
Yes.
But just be, like you say, in whatever sense of the way.
And it's a winnable fight for Weili.
Yeah.
I think Andrade is the most beatable champion in the UFC right now. But I think the skills you need to beat Andrade, which is lateral footwork, exploiting the body, because Andrade just moves in straight lines. It's a very angular movement, and it's quite easy to read. If Weili can use that, I think she's got a chance. But in my opinion, she doesn't have that in the way that a Joanna or Rose in the first round was doing.
Yeah.
So do you think it's maybe a mismatch just to kind of break China, or?
Like I said, I think it's a winnable fight for Weili, but I do think she's been pushed earlier than she should because of that.
Yeah.
That market for that needed.
Yeah.
Need
But
that.
every country has their kind of, you know, if you're like away from Britain and we've got like the English fighters that we will follow more.
You
So
build
you
your
need
work,
that
you
kind
build
of-
your show around,
Yeah, exactly. So
around that figure.
I
So
mean,
China wants someone like this.
I mean, if Weili was to fight, I don't
Champion.
know, if Weili was to fight, I don't know, Ansarov or maybe Joanna, that sort of would have made sense to see if she was ready for the title opportunity. I think throwing her in there after beating Tisha Torres,
Then they've got a world champion, though, haven't they?
they have.
Yeah.
Like I said, I understand it from the UFC's perspective, but I don't think Weili's ready for that.
But it's like another, like sort of Darren Till type of thing. They're giving it the season the opportunity.
Yeah,
They're giving her the opportunity while
Striking
it's there.
the iron way top.
Yeah.
definitely. And if she wins, like I say, the impact would be massive for that.
Yeah.
Can you see her winning?
It's a definite. It's a definite possibility. I didn't get my words out correctly there.
She's very dangerous on the ground, Weili.
I like Andrade.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Andrade as well. And I mean, she can finish anybody with like one punch or one slap.
Yeah. You know what? I would like to say, let's have Weili win it. Just to kind of make that, like I say, that impact. Just to have a little. Sometimes you need someone to just kind of stir up the pot and make a new.
And it would be
exciting-
another twist to that division because Strawweight's fantastic right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I like that type of divisions rather than just have the dominant champion, really.
Jones. And on the subject, UFC 239.
Yeah. There we go.
And when it comes to UFC 239 as well, we've got a lot of star power on this card, but dare I say, not as much investment as what I would ideally like. I mean, and I hate to bring this up from a British perspective, a lot of American fans might not know this, but part of the reason why I'm not as drawn to this card, in my opinion, is BT Sport, who will provide the UFC coverage in the UK, they have decided to put this one on pay-per-view. So it's about £30 to buy the actual BT package, and an extra £20 on top of that.
When you get the BT originally, you meant to get them all.
Exactly.
I think it's quite a bad decision. I think it's a poor one, and I think it's an out of order one, really.
Like I say, I personally feel like I'm suffering because it's on at 3 o'clock in the morning anyway, and I've got to kind of, it just changes your sleeping pattern and everything. So to now have to pay for that as well is
on top of what you already pay.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense.
Good chance for us to move on though, and we're going to start by talking about the prelim fights. Now we've got our 7 fights there on our main cards on both Fight Pass and on ESPN. The big thing you'll notice there though is that TBD alongside Marvin Vera. Now that was originally supposed to be Sean O'Malley, which was his comeback fight after testing positive for Osterine, but he managed to pop once again and got taken off the card.
Interesting, really.
What happens with him? Like, does the UFC crack down on it with him, and is that him kind of done?
They have a different role for every different fighter, really.
Because apparently it's a very similar situation to what John was going through with this pulsing, in inverted commas. That Sean injected Osterine into his system, and it sort of lowers and raises, apparently so. But Sean O'Malley isn't a big money-making star, so he gets punished for it, while Jon Jones gets an entire pay-per-view moved from him.
But the thing is, Sean O'Malley was this. He was on. I forget the fight in
Dana White's Contender Series.
Yes, and they were kind of already pitting him as being this new kind of star coming up and coming. But it's like Jon Jones in his later career, but it's happening very early on for him. And I think after the first time, again, I don't know exactly the ins and outs. He's not learned, has he? And at the beginning of his career, that's bad times. That.
But again, there is money there in Sean O'Malley, so you've got to think, are the UFC just going to keep him around simply because Bellator and One might utilise him?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. You do it because, like you say, you don't want this. Like, how much do you punish them if you haven't punished someone else? Yeah. And then for someone else to do it, they'll go, well, they never got punished. So, but they really do need to actually set something in stone and treat everybody the same. They really do need to make a law, make a rule of what they're doing. They just decide individually instead of having a set rule, I think. Yeah.
It's a very dangerous precedent as well, because I think, was it Tom Lawler who got done for 2 years? I think Tom Lawler got done for 2 years for the same thing that Jon Jones popped for.
Right. What would Tom Lawler be thinking at that?
He'll be thinking all that money are being cashed out of a livelihood here.
Yeah.
It depends how it's getting in your system, but the easiest way is to just
not do it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's sad to see them punished, but if you're doing it, what else can you do?
A lot of British interest in this card as well. Most notably, we've got Arnold Allen, 14-1 record, 7-fight winning streak, and he's got himself a big name fight as well, Gilbert Melendez.
And I think it's a winnable fight for him as well. I really do, and I think Arnold's going to go quite far in the UFC, and I think, I'm not saying they looked after him because he's got. I think they've timed his fight correctly. You know, we talked about before Darren Till getting chucked in at the deep end and bits. I think they're timing him perfectly. Not getting easy fights, but just building up how he's meant to. Yeah. And I think he's going to come good. Really, well, he's already come good, but I think there's a lot more for him to come.
I think Gilbert Melendez is a big name to take.
Yeah,
it is.
I think it's the time to fight him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it's arguably not the same Gilbert Melendez. Yeah. I mean, I saw this guy when he was at Strikeforce, had that fight with Benson Henderson, which, in my opinion, he won. The Diego Sanchez, which is one of the best fights of all time.
Yeah.
But he's not the same guy.
No.
I think since USADA came in, what is it? 5 losses in 6?
But the thing is, some of those losses, I'm not saying all of them, but out of those losses, there's some big names.
Big names.
Like, he's not...
It's actually a pretty... I wouldn't call this now a win-win fight for Arnold, because I think if he was to get beat, I don't know who would give him after that.
Yeah.
The Arnold Allen really needs to win it, even though he's won. I know it sounds bad because he's won 7. So if you win 7, lose 1, but really because of obviously losing his last 5 out of 6 this year, Arnold really needs to be one of them people that also beats him now to really catapult and keep climbing up the ladder. Yeah.
I certainly couldn't see the UFC like losing faith in Allen.
No, really. So no, nothing. But I think it would push him back 3 fights, not 1.
He'll sort of be hanging around those sort of like European cards that they always do.
Yeah.
If he wins this one, then he's fighting the likes of, I don't know, like a Jeremy Stevens type or that sort of ilk.
And he should be, I think.
Yeah, I think like I said, I think they're giving him the right fight, so it's just basically for now for him to turn up and win.
And like you say, Gil Melendez has lost his last 5?
5 out of his past 6.
Yeah, well, he needs to get a win. I think for them to...
He's an ideal fighter for someone like Arnold, though, to know where Arnold stands.
Anybody else who stands out for you on the prelims?
Well,
yeah, TBD looks pretty good.
He's pulled out so many fights, TBD.
I'm a fan of Gadelia. I do like her. So name-wise, yes, and obviously you've got Jack Marshman in there
Welshman.
Well. Yeah.
I'm intrigued by that fight because Marshman big hitting for a for a middleweight, I should say, but he's fighting Shabazian, and there's a lot of hype around Shabazian as well. 9-0 record, 8 first round finishes in his past 9. Rather ominously though, trained by a certain Edmund Tarverdian. So it's going to be interesting to see how far he goes before that sort of Edmund wall starts kicking.
Yeah, I think it takes a bit long. You get a bit higher in the rankings, then it comes into effect. That's when your career's ruined.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting fight. It'd be a real interesting fight, that.
And arguably for Jack as well, he's on a bit of a... He hasn't had the best form in the UFC. And you've got to wonder, if he starts losing these sort of like first round knockouts, how much patience the UFC are going to have. Because being an exciting fighter can only take you so far.
It can, that's true. Yeah. It'll be a good, interesting fight, I think.
It will be.
Yeah.
We'll move on to our main card now, and our first fight on the card. And it's a bit of an old school fight. A lot of old school fans may be liking this one. It is Thiago Sanchez taking on Michael Chiesa. Thiago, 37 years old, still going strong, and also going in the UFC Hall of Fame same weekend.
Fantastic. Yeah. The fight is...
The fight, yeah. His fight with Clay Guida, I should say, yeah.
Yes.
That's
fully deserved.
But the thing is, I think he's got a few fights that are like that Hall of Fame kind of...
Yeah, definitely.
Even like the Melendez fight. Especially the third round in that fight, that was just bite down your mouthpiece and just swing.
Honestly, when he gets that big uppercut in the final minutes and drops Gilbert and the crowd just roars, that was fantastic. That.
No, look, honestly, it's a shame that he wouldn't be going in the Hall of Fame as well.
He probably will. I mean, when you've been fighting for so long, I think it's the only guy from Ultimate Fighter 1 who's still going.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think being the first Ultimate Fighter winner, I think that's going to give him a bit of leverage.
Do you mean going just in UFC?
Just in the UFC Hall of Fame. Because, I mean, tough one winner. He's fought for the title a couple of times. Very entertaining fighter. He's one of those sort of, if we start running out of names, then we can put him in there.
I get you. Yeah, I think it's always a name that when you see it on a sheet, you're going to be like, this is going to be a good fight.
You find, like I say, you don't appreciate him so much until you actually watch them fights of how good they really were, whether he comes off a loss or a win.
The question I have though when it comes to Diego is, how is that Diego who's sort of like biting down and just wildly swinging, is that same guy still there? He is still winning fights, but it is against lesser opposition. He's fighting people like Craig White, Mickey Gall, etc., who decent enough fighters, but they're not elite.
I can't see anyone being in the wars he's been in, and I would imagine his sparring is just as much. Being able to maintain that for so long, you know what I mean? I think he's still up there in a sense, but no, I think he's probably got wiser to not want to be in them brawls as well. It's got to come to a time where you think, that hurts.
I think you'll always have that side of him.
Where it just turned on and just forgets.
You'll get in there, you'll probably have a game plan, and I think with Diego Sanchez, you always get that point where he's just like, you know what? Let's just go for it.
Yeah.
He will start just
win, lose or draw.
Yeah, and I think he doesn't care about the result.
It's
like he just wants to put a show on.
I have started to notice a change though in the way that Diego Sanchez is fighting now. It always used to be the wild sort of brawling type, but maybe because he's realising, hang on a minute, my chin's not as good as it used to be. He started using ground and pound a lot more, and we saw that especially against Mickey Gall. I mean, Mickey Gall isn't a great puncher. But every time he landed a strike, I just thought, oh God, Diego's feeling that. And it made me really nervous. But
I think you've seen that before in even some of the, like the Gilbert Melendez fight when he was getting hit. I know when you're swinging that much, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Someone's going to get rocked, and it usually does. But I think you've seen little glimpses of it in the past from other fights as well.
Yeah.
And your chin doesn't get stronger.
No. One of the things I do notice when it comes to Diego, though, I was looking through his stats. Even though he has had stoppage losses on his record, he's never been submitted. Wow. I think against a guy like Michael Chiesa, who has such a strong grappling background, that's going to be interesting to see.
I think that is a very
interesting point.
Because, like you're saying, especially if Sanchez is now taking up more of a...
Never been submitted in, 42 professional fights?
Ridiculous, isn't it?
It's like almost written that that's going to happen now.
He's got a better run than Royce Gracie.
He has.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll use this opportunity to talk about Michael Chiesa as well. Now, Chiesa spent a long time in sort of like a lightweight contender. He was always sort of around sort of 7th of 8, but he never really broke through into those sort of top reaches. And he did have a good background as well, top 15 winner. He missed weight badly against Anthony Pettis, moved up to welterweight for UFC 232, managed to get a first round submission over Carlos Condit. And even though he did look good, he looked very healthy, much healthier than he had done for his past couple of lightweight cuts. You have to wonder though, Condit's a guy who's arguably on his way down. You have to wonder how good that win was.
Was a false win.
That's the fear I have.
I do understand what you're saying. I always think Condit's... I still kind of rate him as a really good fighter.
5 years ago.
Well, yeah, he was, but I still think he's got that ability there. So I know what you're saying.
With time will tell whether it was.
But then, could you say that with this fight, Michael Chiesa versus Sanchez?
And that's
if Chiesa wins against Sanchez,
are you going to say the same?
Yeah, it's just another name.
That's what happens. Like I said, but it's sad to say, but it does happen when people beat these type of legends or great fighters. They'll say, yeah, but you beat him on his way out.
But you sometimes get that where history starts to get written after the fight takes place. I mean, if Condit was to win that fight, nobody's calling Condit washed up. In the same way, nobody would be calling Diego washed up.
No.
Well, we saw that recently with Francis Ngannou and Junior Dos Santos. Junior wins 3 fights in a row, number 3 in the world. Suddenly, he gets knocked out by Francis and he's washed up.
That's fake people, though, isn't it?
Yeah. You're always going to get that in some form, and I think with these fights like Diego Sanchez and the Carlos Condit, if you're kind of on that decline or on your way out or in an older age bracket, you're probably gonna get it, and you're always gonna get someone who's not hating on it, but looking for some sort of headline.
It's fickle, though, isn't it? Like I said, because either one of them lads could win 5 fights in a row, and like you say, one loss, that's all it needs, and then people go, he's finished, and they do. So
I don't think MMA is as bad as boxing is.
No.
I mean, the grief Anthony Joshua's been getting.
Boxing's totally different, because as a boxer, you sort of if you've got 3 losses as a pro thing when you're a world champion, 3 losses classed as you crap, because they get quite looked after. They have 20 fights, 20 wins before they even fight anyone who's got a winning record themselves. You know what I mean? I think in MMA you get put in the deep end from the beginning of your career. Sometimes you can go in the UFC with like 5 or 6 losses to your name already, or if not more. It's totally different. Whereas in boxing, if they had such of an organisation like that, you probably wouldn't get in there without being a 25-0. But it's totally different, like I say.
I mean, didn't BJ Penn win the welterweight title in like his 7th fight?
Is that right?
I think it was something like that.
Yeah. Crazy, really, when you look at stuff like that.
It's a different sport.
It's a different sport altogether. I think it's a more competitive. Like, I think the best go against the best, and I think you're better thought of than avoiding each other in how they sometimes do in the boxing. And then fights come. The fight that should have happened 10 years ago finally happened when they're both finished. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's the best thing with the UFC.
What do you think are Chiesa's biggest strengths to victory? What's his paths to victory, I should say?
Well, I was going to say submission, but why not now? Like I say, it'll all depend on who Diego comes out, really.
Because the one thing I've noticed about Chiesa is, as good of a grappler as he is, he can get caught striking.
And can Diego lure him into that trap?
Yeah, I think it depends, like you say, on which Sanchez turns up.
Yeah.
if you've got this new Sanchez who you're saying is maybe a bit more
conservative.
Yes, a bit more cautious then.
But cautious Sanchez might be worse than
an aggressive
Sanchez for this fight.
And we also noticed as well with the Mickey Gall fight, where we did have a good submission expert in Mickey Gall, but they couldn't do anything with Diego's ground and pound. I think this could be a very tricky fight to call, and simply because I usually go with youth over experience. I think Chiesa is also quite wily enough that he's not going to fall foul of any mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Chiesa wins by decision. I don't think he submits him. I think Diego does enough to avoid getting submitted.
I just had the images in my head of Sanchez winning by submission. So I'm definitely going to go for Chiesa by submission.
That's what I was originally going to go for, but I'll go against you and I'll go Sanchez. On a bit of a fence type saying no.
It's a tricky fight to call. It's definitely probably one of the more compelling fights to call on the main card in my opinion. Which is ironic because it was never supposed to be there. Originally they were going to put Ngannou and JDS, but then I think the main event in Minneapolis got cancelled.
Right.
And they moved Francis JDS a week before.
And especially if they are going to, are they obviously going to announce Diego's Hall of Fame at the event, or?
I think the Hall of Fame ceremony is the day before.
It'll make sense for him to be on the main card still.
Yeah.
I think definitely, and I think deserved.
Do you think that's why he's on the main card to try and cash in on that?
I don't get us wrong, I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to be on the main card if that wasn't the case, but I think that definitely puts more point across for him to be on the main card, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it also, a little bit, it's like sells the fight a bit more because it's like we've got this guy who's going on, you can put on a mid-fight.
He deserves, the wars he's been in for the UFC, he deserves to be on the main card.
Yeah, he does.
Definitely. And we don't know how many times Diego's going to do this either. 37 years old, a lot of wars behind him.
Yeah.
It could be, he might get his, what's that? Oh, he's had 42. I don't know, I was going to try and reach 40 fights, but he's already had 42, so like I say, there might be a bit of a goal that he's going for that type of amount of fights, but I don't think he'll make 50.
Nah, I don't think
I don't think he's got 8 more fights.
No chance.
We move on to fight number 2 now, and we are going up to the light heavyweight division, where we've got Jan Blachowicz, our number 6 seed, and he's taking on a newcomer to the division, Luke Rockhold, former UFC middleweight champion, former Strikeforce champion as well. Bookies have this one, Rockhold surprisingly as a favourite, minus 185. Blachowicz you can get at plus 150. Interesting when it comes to Luke Rockhold, not only is it his first light heavyweight fight, it's also his first fight in 18 months. Last time he fought Yoel Romero, UFC 221, got knocked out in the 3rd round. It's going to be interesting to see how Rockhold comes into this fight, not only because of the ring rust, but also fighting in a new weight class.
It's a hard one. I've got to admire him for it, in a sense, really, because I think a lot of people who were in Rockhold's shoes, but this is where maybe gets dictated by the UFC. I think 18 months off, going up a weight class, I think they would have probably generally took an easier fight.
Yes.
Someone outside the top 10, definitely. But that's the man of him, I suppose, or the UFC demanding that. I don't know which way around. But
he's one of those people for me that's like, who was it before? Where I just think his heart's not in it because he's got outside kind of interest. So I don't know. Like, you know, I know it's not the same because it's outside interest, but like Tony Ferguson and like when in Conor McGregor as well, where it's like there's personal stuff going on, or like you say, you've got them outside interests. I was in the airport and I seen his face on like aftershave and stuff, and I was like, is that Luke Rockhold? And I was like, I've not seen him fight for a while. Now he's doing like modelling stuff, and I just feel like...
Well, apparently that Minneapolis main event was supposed to be Rockhold and Blachowicz, but Rockhold was doing a modelling shoot that week.
There you go. Well, that means that took priority over the fight.
Yeah, which is wrong.
Does that mean he got more money for the? Because surely that must be what it is. Or he's trying to extend his brand or whatever.
Look to the future.
Yeah.
Because how much more of a future is, you know, career minded maybe, you know.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, definitely not.
I sometimes have an issue with MMA fans who have an issue with fighters doing things outside.
It's nothing wrong with us. It's nothing wrong. Why they should, the fans, it's got nothing to do with them. It's the fighter that's going to suffer because the fight is not going to come in probably, you know, okay, they'll still dedicate themselves to a certain degree, but they're still not, like I say, when you're fully dedicated to the sport, it's on your mind 110, like 8 days a week. You know what I mean? Compared to like you can't be dedicated to that and dedicated to that and dedicated to that.
it's one or the other really.
Well, I don't mind people having their outside interest and doing other things, but it's how much you invested in the fighting side of it. If that's if doing your outside interest is going to take away from your training camp or whatever, then that's when it becomes like a bit, well, you're not fully invested in the fighting bit, which is what we're paying to see. And
but at the same time, how much training can you do? You know, you've 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Even if how much do you sleep? 8 hours. You train, even if you train 3 times a day, hour here, hour there, hour and a half there. You know, they've got, unless they've got like a family, if they haven't got no families or whatever else, I suppose they should have time to do.
They should, but then if you're cancelling an event, or cancelling a fight because of this other interest,
true.
I don't know.
I'm curious as well as to the reasoning behind Rockhold moving up to the weight class, because he wasn't a big middleweight, in my opinion. I think there's guys who are struggling to make middleweight more than he was.
I would imagine he's gone up weight because he's had time off.
Yeah, definitely.
He's come back to training with training partners and probably felt better than he did at middleweight.
The cynic in me thinks it's an easier path to a title.
Yeah?
I do, because he lost against Joel Romero, who coincidentally lost also against Robert Whittaker, so the route to the title is going to be a little bit harder for him. And also I think the strength and depth of middleweight is better than it is at light heavyweight.
Especially if Jones goes up to heavy.
Well, is that what you're thinking? Because for me, Jones is unbeatable at light heavyweight.
But he's going to get that title shot faster.
But his title shot is going to win.
But yeah, so you're just going that he wants the title shot?
Because I think he's seen what people like Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos have done. Now these were middleweight journeymen, moved up to light heavyweight, built up a bit of a winning streak, and they're fighting for titles.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Rockhold could possibly be fighting for a title if he wins this fight.
Yeah.
And the UFC would make that because of his media
I
popularity.
also believe that if it could be, like I say, he might want to fight with Jones, but I also think he might be thinking Jones is going to go up to heavyweight, which is being talked, and then he would fight for a vacant light heavyweight title, which makes sense.
But then, do you think Jones is going to do the double champ thing?
Yeah, but I think if he did the double champ, I think he would have more choices to defend at heavyweight. So then, realistically, the UFC light heavyweight belt should come vacant.
I think John likes the idea of a double champ, but he won't move up unless the champion is somebody he can beat. I don't see him fighting Francis.
But that's a fight everyone wants to watch, would like to watch.
I would love to see that fight.
I think his first fight at heavyweight will do more numbers than his last.
Defending, even if he wasn't fighting for the title, even if it was just a heavyweight bout.
Yeah, easily.
We'll discuss this in a lot more detail when we actually get to Jon Jones later on in the show. We've touched on Luke Rockhold. We need to talk about his opponent, Jan Blachowicz. 22-8 record. Now his last fight was a loss to Thiago Santos in the Prague main event. Before that though, he was on a 4-fight winning streak. He was fighting some pretty decent names as well, being the likes of Jimmy Manuwa, Nikita Krylov. Yeah. He could have very easily been fighting for the title.
Yeah.
Fighting Jon Jones if he'd beaten Santos.
Yeah. One fight away really. Yeah. Looking at losing to
So
Santos.
do you think this could be the next for Jones? The winner of this?
Well, personally, if it was up to me, I would do Dominic Reyes versus Corey Anderson for a number 1 contender fight.
Right.
I think those two are both on good runs of form. Yeah. And I think they would deserve it. Especially.
So you think Dominic Reyes would be ready for a title fight?
I don't think Dominic Reyes is ready, but if he's won the fights, he's earned the shot.
Yeah. Yeah, he's still.
I've always said the person I think has the best chance of beating Jon Jones light heavyweight is Johnny Walker.
Yeah.
But it's all about getting Johnny Walker there.
Yeah, I think. I know you can always say there's the best person who can do it. I just don't think anyone can.
No. No.
And that's why I think, honestly, light heavyweight fights are becoming a bit. And this is why I'm saying the heavyweight numbers for Jon Jones would do a lot more.
It's
than
because, like I say, we expect too much of a win. We're not saying mismatches as such, but I think it's like, Jon Jones is going to fight tonight. Yeah, he'll win. When it's just a question of what round.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say Jan Blachowicz's biggest strengths? What's going to get him victory against Luke Rockhold?
Probably. I'm going for his grappling.
I think he has a very underrated wrestling game. I think we saw that especially against Krylov. I think he's primarily a striker.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you not think he'll use that?
I think he'll be striking because I think if Rockhold does have a big weakness,
chin.
Yeah.
I think he'll come out. I think that would be definitely to look at. Like for the striker. And also you've got to remember that there is a however many kilos difference. So from middleweight to light heavyweight, theoretically, the light heavyweight, it'll probably be in the back of his mind thinking he's more powerful there than the man who's knocked Rockhold out at middleweight.
Because I look at Rockhold's last 4 fights. Chris Weidman, who's primarily a wrestler, he was causing him problems. Got knocked out by Bisping. David Branch wobbled him. Yeah. And then he gets knocked out by Yoel Romero.
So he's going to go back to his kickboxing for the Rockhold fight?
I think so. I think he'll go for his kickboxing. It's just whether or not Rockhold's going to be able to take him down, and being arguably a smaller man going up against light heavyweight.
Yeah.
He'll be prepared for that light heavyweight jump.
I think
he's
so.
He's probably been walking around at heavyweight anyway. If he's not doing anything. Well, maybe not heavyweight.
It's the ring rust that may be the factor in this. Maybe not so much the jump up. Like I say, I think the jump up to light heavyweight might be a clever thing to do.
Possibly
I think
it's an easier thing to do.
Possibly, like I say, someone outside the top 10 for his first fight back. Not because of the light heavyweight jump, because of the 18-month layoff. Like I say,
I think if you're somebody who...
But this is a quicker route to the title fight.
Yeah.
If you're somebody who dedicates yourself to training, I think ring rust isn't as much of an issue.
No.
But when you're somebody like Luke Rockhold, who's got all these other commitments going...
Ring rust is major.
Yes. So even though Rockhold is the favourite for this one, I think Blachowicz, I'm going to say Blachowicz, 2nd round stoppage.
Okay, I think Blachowicz, but... I'm going to go TKO.
Well, should I just go away with you from completely for the whole event and go Rockhold? I don't know. I think if he's took this fight, I think he's. I know
they've given him this fight for a reason.
Yeah. I think he must have called for it, and like I say, I think what you've said there. He's obviously his final destination is obviously wanting that title fight. Whoever against, I don't know. I think he must think he's ready for it after an 18-month layoff. There's something more to it than meets the eye. So I'm going to go for Luke Rockhold decision.
And if Jon was to stay at light heavyweight and Luke was to win, did he set up that fight? Should they set up that fight?
No,
I don't think they should.
No, and I don't think Luke Rockhold. I could be wrong. I don't think Luke Rockhold would want that fight, second fight in after. Depending on how, if he got the win, how he won. If he chewed on, like I think he will be, and I think it might be a bit of a split decision even type of thing. I think then he might go, hang on, I need a couple more fights at light heavyweight before. If he goes in and dominates the fight, even 3 rounds or finishes first round or anything like that, then he may have the confidence to do that. But I don't think he's going to.
I think he just wants the paycheck.
Yeah.
I think he would say, yeah, I'll take that fight now.
I'd like to see him versus Anthony Smith.
Yeah.
Because Anthony Smith's been quite vocal, he wants that fight.
Yeah, I would like to see that fight. Yeah, I agree.
So we're moving on to fight number 3, and we're going down to the welterweight division. A potential number 1 contender match, depending on which way you look at it. It is Jorge Masvidal taking on Ben Askren. Now, welterweight's become a very interesting division all of a sudden. Ever since Kamaru Usman became champion, we've got a boatload of contenders all clamouring to get that first fight. Colby Covington will be in action against Robbie Lawler, that's coming up soon. Rafael Dos Anjos up against Leon Edwards, and of course this fight. So it's become a very competitive division all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And out of those names, out of those 3 fights you've said, which one of those would you say is like the next title shot from the winner of that?
I know.
In my opinion, as much as I don't like the guy, I would give it to Colby.
I knew you were going to say that, and I disagree because he's a twat. Pretty much. Just to say it. Yeah. He's walking around with the belt anyway. I know other people have done it, but I just think I don't want to see someone like him even possibly become a champion.
He won't beat Usman.
No, he won't.
If Colby versus Usman happen, I think Usman wins that fight.
Yeah, I think he does. I think Lawler probably will win that fight anyway, but I feel like they've kind of put Ben Askren in a position to fight for the title, so I think from the Masvidal and Askren fight, that will be the next title one. As well, because Jorge he's had a good run of form of late. I think it'll probably be between them two.
I'd agree with that one.
Yeah.
And I think as well, because Dana invested a lot of money to get Ben Askren to the UFC.
Yeah,
he gave up Mighty Mouse.
He was quite adamant to get him, wasn't he? He was quite a bizarre thing, really. Something I wasn't. We've talked about this before. Something I wouldn't be against happening quite often, like a transfers for stuff. I think it's just a new something new to the show, to MMA.
Who's got the better deal out of them two, do you think?
Probably the UFC. I think the UFC got everything out of him, and Ben Askren, like you say, if he keeps winning, they've got the better deal. If he gets beat, then they'll go. But you don't know. I think they probably both got the deal they wanted.
Definitely.
I think they both got the deal they wanted. I think they're both better suited where they are now. So that works out. I think it was a great. I think the deal was there to be had, and it was a good deal. How they come up with the deal though, and how whoever thought of the deal, I would like to know.
Because I think what always made Ben Askren somewhat of a novelty was because he was the big fish who'd never fought in the UFC. It was always Fedor was like number one, and then it was Ben Askren.
Yeah.
So there was all this sort of air of there was sort of aura around him over how good he actually was. So when you see Robbie Lawler slam him and nearly finish him in the first 30 seconds, you're just thinking,
yeah, I know. I think that like I say, it's probably the fight when you first swap over that was the hard one. Now he's overcome that. I think it might be. I think he's here to maybe.
Do you think Herb Dean should have stopped that there?
I always think if it was meant to be stopped, it was meant to be stopped. It carried on.
Exactly.
It could have been, but it wasn't.
It's been controversy either way, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you can stop fights too early and sometimes too late, so you're always going to get a mixture of refereeing.
Yeah, refereeing's the hardest job in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of controversy that came with the Robbie Lawler fight sort of overshadowed sort of Ben Askren as a UFC level fighter, because we still don't know how good the guy actually is at the UFC. We've seen obviously what happened with Bellator One Championship where he was steamrolling everybody.
And
he's got a lot about him. He has.
And he's got, you know what it is, I always like, you've got a bit of personality and
he's got a lot of it.
Yeah, it just helps you're kind of, just everything about you. Selling yourself.
Tell you what, you mentioned Colby Covington there. If Colby is the wrong way to sell yourself, Ben Askren's the right way.
Yeah.
He sort of plays that sort of like WWE heel persona where he's very love to hate.
He's almost like a slightly Chael-esque kind of character. I think Colby just, I don't know what he's thinking. He just goes about it such the wrong way.
He spoiled the Avengers for me.
He's just.
Everyone has to be different.
I don't know. Yeah, but it's like for me, Ben Askren is Ben Askren. Chael Sonnen, he was Chael Sonnen, but he had a little bit of flavour to it. Colby's just like almost like, I want to be that guy. That's who I'm going to be. And he's putting on an act fully, and I just don't really understand it.
So, what are Ben Askren's biggest strengths? What's going to get him victory against Jorge?
I think
it has to be his grappling.
It has to be his grappling, and I think it's going to be kind of just controlling the fight as a whole. I think Masvidal's so good at kind of in and out punches and controlling the stand up, but
just try and tie him up, keep him at bay if you like.
I think Masvidal wins that easily. Stand up game.
Yeah. And Jorge has very good takedown defense as well.
He does.
But will he be able to defend the takedowns?
That's the thing. Because I'm trying to think who's like the last like great grappler who Jorge Masvidal fought. It was probably Damian Maia. Yeah. And he caused Damian Maia a lot of problems in that fight.
Yeah. I like Masvidal. I never used to like him that much, but of late, yeah. Even personality wise, I'm still finding him to be a bit more interesting. Askren, you know what it is? It's one of those fights where whoever dominates their game plan the best wins.
Yeah.
And as we've seen with Jorge as well, I think the big problem Jorge had for a long time was because he was out of action for quite a while. He had the Wonder Boy fight, didn't really look that great against it. Took a good, 16, 17 months away, fallen down to 12th in the rankings, to the point that when the Darren Till fight came around, people were selling it as a squash match, and then he does that to Till, who is massive. Yeah. I mean, the size difference between the two was pretty gargantuan.
It was, and that's the other thing with Till. Do you think he's too big for that weight?
Yes.
Like,
I said for a long time.
What about Askren being small?
What's that?
Askren being small for the weight.
He is. I think Ben Askren, because the UFC have always wanted to do a 165 weight class. That to me is Ben Askren's ideal weight.
Yeah.
Because even if you look at like Ben Askren, like when he does promo shots for the fight kit, he's not a toned figure.
He's not. But sometimes I always find a lot of the wrestlers sometimes have that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think
if it come about in your weight class, he probably wouldn't drop it.
That's something that Daniel Cormier said when he was moved back up to heavyweight. He was saying that, look, I could probably walk around at about 220, 225. But I carry the extra 20 pounds because it's harder to get 250 pounds off you than it is 220. Because he even admitted for the Derek Lewis fight, he put on more weight. So it was harder for Derek to get up.
Oh, there you go. And I think you've got to work your advantages sometimes as well, even with stuff like weight.
And it's working for Ben Askren, isn't it?
It is. I think Masvidal's takedown defense is going to be a big factor in this. He has the power to cause Ben problems. It's just, I see Ben getting that takedown quite quickly. And if Ben starts wearing them down in that first round, it's going to be won by traffic.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
My thing with that is that Jorge is vicious.
Ben Askren might not get his own way the first round.
Nah. If it's because like I know we would say it starts standing. So
and like I say, I think the more he starts relaxing in the second round, Ben Askren may start getting the takedowns then, and then probably tire him out ready for the third round if it goes that.
Again, I think the takedown happens. Yes, Askren can be dominant on top, but I think you're going to have Masvidal elbows and getting anything he can in from the bottom. Like Masvidal won't take it lying down, as you so to speak. But do you know what I mean? I think he'll. No matter where it goes, he's still going to be. Back. Yeah, he's still going to have issues there for Askren. I think.
I can see Masvidal getting the finish, but I can't see Askren doing it.
Okay.
That's where it's going to go. It's either Askren is going to course to a 30-27, or Masvidal knocks him out in the first round. And if he does, what does that do for Ben Askren as a UFC fighter? All that hype, all that expectation.
That's the issue. Sometimes crossing from a different.
Yeah, he's got massive expectations.
Kid Yamamoto, man, when he came over, everyone kind of seen him as like, right, got this mint prospect.
Hector Lombard.
Hector Lombard, what happened?
Yeah, Hector Lombard, wasn't he on like a 25 fight winning streak, something like that?
Something crazy. I think this is the fight that will really
put him where he should be if he gets the win. He's still doubt between people's mind. I think there's a lot of pressure there for him, really.
Yeah. Much more so than Masvidal.
Yeah.
I think I would also quite like Ben to win this,
right?
Because I think a charismatic champion, and I think he has a good chance of beating Usman, because I think his grappling game's better than Usman's.
Okay.
But also
It'll
as well,
make the deal worthwhile.
It will. Yeah.
If Masvidal was to lose as well, I want that Leon Edwards fight.
Yeah.
I want
definitely.
That
Everyone wants that fight, don't they?
And this is the thing with Masvidal. I don't think really he has much to lose because he's kind of come back, like I say, a long time off. He's winning fights, and even his kind of persona just seems very laid back, doesn't he? Almost like if I get it, I get it. I don't think he's too bothered about kind of going to the. Obviously, he'd like a title, but I think for him, if he lost against Askren but put on a good shot and then fought Leon Edwards,
which is what a lot of people would like to see, wouldn't they, really?
You're going to get draws in for that fight. So I think
Leon Edwards needs that type of fight. I know he's got a fight coming up here, but to draw attention big time.
Leon Edwards for me is the most underrated guy in the UFC.
I don't. You know, I mean, what's he? Is he 7-0?
7-5 winning streak.
That's fantastic, and he's not really. I think we know of him because I knew him before he even was in the UFC. Fought a lot, I wouldn't know very well. But I think outside the UK, I don't think until this fight's been announced, people knew of him. He wasn't on anyone's radar, I don't think.
And he's beaten some good names as well. He beat like Cowboy, Gunny Nelson.
Fantastic, some real. I don't know. I just think he gets overlooked a lot.
But I know RDA is going to be a tough fight for him.
Big.
But if he won that, I think it just propels.
And then people will go, "Where's he come from?"
Yeah, that's it. Definitely. Kind of happened with Till.
Yeah,
it was like,
did
as soon as he got
Till.
that win, it was like when he beat Cowboy. And suddenly it was like, wow, who's this guy, Darren Till? And suddenly there's that kind of hype train behind him, and
then people start going,
we'll.
He's 8-0. Yeah. And he was, right.
It's because you don't really pay much attention to him until he started getting them big name wins.
Yeah. Well, even Dana admitted he pushed Till too soon.
Yeah, he definitely did. 100%.
Yeah, he did, but at the same time, if he'd won, Till was it would have been the best decision
you've got to strike the iron when it's hot. So I understand it from the UFC.
Because if he got beat of somebody else, he'd never have got that chance again.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Askren wins by decision. I think it's very close, but that's what I'm going for.
I'll go for you on this one. I'll agree.
I just think Masvidal's too small to deal with the ground game.
I want to go Masvidal.
We haven't had a all round yet, have we?
No, we haven't. I think that's certainly going to change.
We can't be on the main event.
Well, we'll see. It might.
because we're talking about the co-main event where the women's bantamweight title is on the line, and it's Amanda Nunes taking on Holly Holm. Now, I'd like to start this off by asking you gents a question. We'd like a little bit of general knowledge on this show. Since the start of 2016, how many bantamweight fights has Holly Holm won?
The answer's not on there.
Is the answer on here?
Go on.
One.
One.
May 2017, it was against Betcha O'Hara in Fight Night Singapore, the main event. It is widely considered one of the worst main events of all time.
Right.
Both ladies won multiple times for inactivity. It did end in a knockout for Holly, but that has been used to justify Holly Holm getting a 4th title shot in the UFC.
2 years later.
2 years later.
And a bit too.
I mean, she has fought Megan Anderson, she's had some fights at featherweight, but it still stands that's her only bantamweight win since 2016.
It's almost, you know what it is? And she's number 2.
She's a number 2 seed.
I always feel like there's an underlying she beat Ronda, so that's always going to be stuck to her.
Yeah.
And that kind of gives her more press and more hype about her. But
you're right what you're saying. You know, like she probably there could be people out there with a lot more wins, but she's probably got the bigger name.
Yeah, that's
Star power.
Yeah.
I think this might be. I think this probably will be our last run out without going on a winning streak.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a lot of people comment on my videos before, and they say I have an issue with Holly. It's not Holly I have the problem with. It's the pedestal the UFC keep putting her on. Now, what she did against Ronda can't be taken away from her.
No.
But that was 4 years ago. And the truth is, Holly hasn't done anything since then to warrant the kind of praise she still gets. I mean, if she was to lose this fight on Saturday, her UFC record is going to be 5 wins and 5 losses. She'll have won 2 out of her past 7. And her biggest win, I should say, being the Betcha O'Hara fight where she was losing before the knockout.
Yeah.
And I mean, I understand that what you did beforehand, like legacy, does play a big part. But in my opinion, it's a form sport. And in my opinion, there's 3, maybe even 4 girls who deserve it more.
Yeah.
I mean, Ketlin Vieira's been on a great run of form. Jermaine, I know a lot of people dislike Jermaine, but
like I said, this is the last time.
It should be the last time.
So what do you think it is? Why do you think it is?
Pedestal, like because of
Why?
Because of that
Just because of
victory.
Ronda?
Yeah. I do. Ronda was huge, wasn't she?
She beat the face of women's MMA.
Yeah.
I
mean, I don't believe these women's MMA would be where they are now without Ronda.
They wouldn't be.
And you know, I mean, we've had main events, we've had co-main events, which we've got and it's definitely without Ronda Rousey, these women probably would have been in the UFC, but I don't know.
They would have got
and they might have been.
Needed.
I think where we are now with them, that probably might have been in 2 years' time. I think she really pushed it in a big way.
Yeah, and the thing is with Ronda, I think if it wasn't Ronda, someone would have come along eventually and done a similar thing, and it would have been like, oh, we're going to do the same thing.
It was Ronda, and Holly stopped it.
Yeah,
I think my issue when it comes to Holly, it's not so much like the Ronda win, it's the fact it happened so long ago. I mean, Kamaru Usman hadn't even made his pro debut when that fight happened. And you've got to question how much value can that still have after 4 years?
To be honest with you, not that she's still going to get the title fight, but that'll still be talked about 20 years later.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
People still talking about Matsura.
Yeah. So it can the warrant can go quite a bit.
but it's like with the Chris Weidman dethroning Anderson Silva, right?
Yeah.
I know he did it twice as well. That's obviously something that everyone's going to remember as Chris Weidman doing that. But then he had like the 3 losses, and this didn't really happen to him.
No.
I mean, Weidman...
I think women's... You say there's 3 or 4 out there who deserve, but they haven't got the depth that the men's division has.
Weidman was getting slated for those 3 losses, so I know the 3 losses and he's kind of come back.
And the thing is as well, the losses that Holly has had, they're not close losses. I mean, apart from the Jermaine fight, but I mean, Valentina's school there. She looked clueless on the ground against Misha. Cyborg was Cyborg.
Yeah.
I just think you can't keep making excuses when it comes to Holly Holm. I'm not saying that Holly's a bad fighter. I'm just saying she needs to take a step back. I'd like to see her against maybe the Kat Zinganos or like the Askren lad fight.
Yeah, she's always up there fighting for the top position.
I go on both. She maybe doesn't deserve the title fight.
Yeah.
But I admire her for fighting the best.
Yes, and I will agree with her for that.
Yeah. I admire that. You know, a lot of people who get beat will go, okay, what you've just said, I think I need to step it down a bit. She's saying, no, give me the best fight, and I've got to admire that.
Yes.
I think another thing when it comes to Holly with this title shot, it's something similar to what we touched on with Wei Lee. It always used to be that the UFC, that if a champion was ready to defend, they would give the shot to the person who was most deserving. Either the best wins, the best run of form, highest ranked, etc.
Over the last few years, we haven't seen that, have we?
Yeah, we're starting to see a financial motivation.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I like to see like the Rocky Penningtons of the world who grind these 3, 4, 5 fight winning streaks and earn a title shot, even if they're not the biggest name in the world. What we've started seeing is the UFC going for the money-making fights. And I think this is another example.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah,
I don't know whether it's right or whether it's wrong.
Do you think the rankings hold any kind of weight anymore?
To a certain degree.
Not as much as what they should do.
To
Well,
the degree until there's money involved, until there's another fight can be made. That
I mean,
think Carl. I think if there's no what Carl said, money, I think, and then they have to go for rankings, then the rankings count. But I think if the rankings probably go out the window when there's a money, that money fight is going to go ahead regardless, isn't it?
Well, we've even seen that with Jermaine. Better winning streak than Holly. Fought more recently than Holly. Higher ranked than Holly. Beat Holly. And yet it's Holly who gets the title shot.
Fantastic, that isn't it? That win really has put her in good stead.
But this is the thing. This is why you get kind of painted with that brush. Holly Holm beat Ronda, yes. Jermaine backed out of a fight. So now, for me at least, that's what I think of when I think of her. That's one of the first things that pops in my head.
And I think that's a shame as well, because from all accounts I've heard, Jermaine's a very nice person.
Yes, but I don't know, that I kind of tarnish her with that brush of just, why should you get the title shot? Because you had your chance and you wanted to turn it down. I know it's a different fight now, but if Jermaine went on to say she won and got a title fight and fought Amanda Nunes, and then Cyborg came along, what would you do?
She would have ducked that fight.
She'd duck the fight again. So you can't really give
So
it.
Holly Holm doesn't really duck anyone, basically.
No,
Yeah, Holly Holm's
that's
just
one of the
going for
good
it.
things I will praise Holly for.
How can you be a fighter and say, I don't know, well, I'm a champ, but I don't want to fight that person?
Yeah.
So we'll talk about our champion, and we need to go back to December, UFC 232. What the hell happened? What the hell happened in that co-main?
I think I said it was just going to be an absolute one-sided slobber knocker. Because I thought Cyborg was just going to run through it, but yeah, it had to be, didn't it?
I wouldn't say that Cyborg underestimated Nunes. What I think Cyborg did the most was overestimated how strong her chin was. She'd never fought somebody who hits with that kind of power.
Yeah.
And I think the big mistake Cyborg made as well, if you watch that fight again, Cyborg doesn't try to back away. She still tries to stay in the pocket, because all she's known is brawling.
Yeah.
And she still tried to brawl even though she was getting lit
And
up.
I think that was a mistake.
Big mistake.
Yeah,
Big
but I think when you're caught in that moment, I think your brain's out the window. Really, you're looking. She'll probably look back and think,
Yeah, she'll
I should have
regret
done
it.
that.
And the one thing I will say about Cyborg, I mean, Cyborg gets a lot of grief from a lot of fans. Listen to the post-fight interviews she was having. Very humble, very respectful.
Yeah.
In fact, I actually watched one of her video logs of that fight. She was taking selfies with fans on the way back. Bruises on her face, big
That's
smile
fantastic.
on her face.
Yeah, that's good.
She's come across really well, in my opinion, on social media, which makes Amanda's behaviour all the more jarring to me.
Yeah.
So while Cyborg was being so respectful, she was saying like, I'm the greatest of all time, all the fans need to start respecting me, I should be promoted more. Which, hey, even if you do have that sort of claim to be the greatest of all time, personally, I put more value in Ronda's dominance.
Yeah.
You don't say that. All you're doing is creating a rod for your own back.
If you're the greatest of all time, people know you're the greatest of all
Of course you do. You don't have to. Yeah.
time. You don't have to stop trying to show.
I think you've got doubt when you're telling people that.
Yeah. You're trying to push the issue a bit too
Yeah.
much, I think. But it annoyed me because in that fight, when she beat Cyborg, I was like, you know what? I've got to respect her. She came in, she did that. But then, like you say, it's just you're not likable enough for me to kind of follow in that way. Whereas Cyborg, because of that personality side, it does make me think, and because she's a good fighter as well, but I think you need some sort of personality.
Like she's saying like, oh, she needs to get to the back of the line and I might give her another shot in 3 years' time. I'm thinking, hang on a minute, Cyborg hadn't lost in 13 years.
Yeah.
If anybody's entitled to a rematch, it's her.
It's her. Yeah.
And in my opinion, if them two fought in that same way as they did beforehand, 10 times, Nunes wins 5, Cyborg wins 5. It was whoever landed the first big punch.
I get you. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Definitely.
And I want to see the rematch.
I think it's a rematch.
Yeah, I think everyone does, don't they?
Yeah. Focusing on this fight though, when it comes to Nunes, obviously we've got one of the hardest punchers in the bantamweight division, probably the hardest in my opinion. We've also got a good grappler, as we've seen before, a lot of takedowns. I mean, she was taking Rocky Pennington down at will, which is sad to see because I love Rocky Pennington.
Yeah, same.
And when you've got Holly, who has been notoriously weak when it comes to the ground game, dare I say it maybe could be a long night for Holly?
Or a short night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's Holly's keys to winning, in your opinion?
Well, like I said, it's background is the standard up and everything else, but I can't say. I think she's one of them fighters. What we've talked about before, what really is on the downward spiral now. Like I don't know why she's took. I know she's ranked number 2 in that, but I can't say a win in any sort of sense. You know,
I think her kind of
keeping away,
area
punch
is
and move.
going to be striking, but then
But
after
I don't
seeing Amanda Nunes striking with Cyborg,
I wouldn't think she could stand and bang with her as such. I think she could technical boxer, but technical boxing someone for 15 minutes is quite
25 minutes.
25 minutes. Sorry, of course, 25 minutes, even worse. That's going to be. I think sometimes when you're in the technical boxing, you can actually tire out more than the person against. You know, you're moving more, you're throwing more. You can't do it for 25 minutes.
Holly's biggest strength, in my opinion, is also her biggest weakness. She's very good at following a game plan, and we know Greg Jackson's going to be studying hours and hours of footage. And she actually, if you watch the Cyborg fight, she actually had a lot of success earlier on. I mean, she was neutralising Cyborg in the clinch, but the combos started getting predictable. Cyborg started beating them, and then from round 3 onwards, it was one-way traffic.
I think you need to be able to change your game plan as the fight goes on if things aren't going your way.
She telegraphs too much.
Yes, and I think that's probably where, like you say, with that Cyborg fight where it went wrong. I think with these two, I don't know. A Nunes probably, I think for me, is the smarter fighter.
Yes.
So I think that's where, when the fight's happening, like you say with the Cyborg fight, if Holly comes in with a game plan, Nunes, or even Nunes' corner after the first round, will give her information.
She'll change it up.
Yeah.
I don't think Holly can.
I don't think she will.
Do you think an approach that Holly should take is to try and pressure Nunes? Because when we've seen Nunes in the past, the way that Nunes has lost fights in the past is people exploiting her poor cardio, surviving the first round, getting her to the ground and tiring her out. Katzingano did that brilliantly. I think UFC 178.
I don't think Holly will be able to do that.
Holly can't do that. That's my issue. Unless she's been working on the wrestling.
I think Holly will definitely avoid a first round loss. I think she could even a second, but I think even though you're going about Nunes' cardio, I think that's maybe late second round, third round, she'll start exploiting it too much.
Yeah. So where do we stand on this one then, lads?
Nunes for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Nunes.
Second, third, or fourth round.
Just summing everything. Submissions.
third round I'll go for.
I'm going second or third. I'm going to go for third.
I'm going to say second round. My only concern with that is Holly's never been stopped by strikes in the UFC.
First time for everything.
There is a first time.
And could there be a first time for a Jon Jones loss? Because it's time to talk about our main event. A legitimate loss, I should say.
Right,
time to talk about our main event. Jon Jones is taking on the number 2 seed Thiago Santos. The bookies have it one way. Jon Jones is a minus 600 favourite for this one. You can get Thiago Santos a plus 400.
I'm going for Santos to win.
I think Holly Holm might challenge you next for the title.
They probably will give Holly Holm the heavyweight title shot.
Honestly.
It's you saw, like, can you remember when Uriah Faber was getting title shots for every single thing? It's like Holly Holm stole in that cheat code.
Yeah, I don't want to be disrespectful to Santos in the whole thing,
no.
you know, because you know, I think people think everyone's taking the pay and underestimating Jon Jones' opponents. It's just the fact of how good he really is. Really,
that's what it is.
To that,
I mean, Thiago Santos is not a bad fighter.
Not at all.
And the thing is, a lot of the people who fight Jones aren't bad fighters.
No, just Jon.
The majority of them, but Jon Jones is just a freak of nature. He's just a quality fighter, and I made the mistake once before he was champ of betting against him against here when he fought Ryan Bader, because Ryan Bader was the better odds. I thought, yeah, it could happen. And then he beat him, and then ever since then, I've never bet against him.
No.
And there's been no reason to, because he's always put on just a perfect performance.
I have to hold my hand up and say I bet on Anthony Smith. A pound coin at 8-1 odds, I just thought I might as well. So when he was close to getting disqualified, I was just thinking, stay down, please.
I think at light heavyweight, he can't be beaten.
No.
Different at heavyweight, but
it's a 2-horse race still. Santos is wild.
He is.
Could happen.
I mean, the man has a sledgehammer tattooed on his chest. I mean, that says everything you need to know about Thiago Santos.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I mean, do you get the point the way you think Jones might underestimate people?
No.
No.
Because I think Jon Jones, I think that for two reasons.
He keeps his professionalism throughout.
Yeah. One, he underestimated Gus in the build to their fight, and Gus gave him the toughest fight of his career.
Yeah.
But also as well, John pretty much blew it when he had the hit and run stuff and all the drug tests. He's gotten a second chance, and he's going to do what he can to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Mm.
Yeah, but
and of course you've got Greg Jackson as well, who's going to try and keep him.
Yeah. I was thinking there's going to just be another Jon Jones moment at some point.
Oh, there will be, and we saw that with the Smith fight with the knee.
Yeah.
So
he is careless.
I'll put out there now. I'm putting back in Jones to win this fight, but
what are we say?
Is there a point of the career like a Mike Tyson where there's going to have to be an upset? Or is that not this time?
Any fighter can get caught.
Yes.
And I think Thiago Santos is wild enough to potentially catch it.
Yes, this is my point. I still wouldn't put money on that, but there is that chance.
If Jon Jones gets beaten, right, it'll be the same, well, not the same thing, but it'll be the same kind of reaction as Joshua getting beat. Where it's suddenly like, no, he was never that good. They'll just, honestly, people start talking crap about it.
So are you saying we should book Jon Jones versus Andy Ruiz?
At heavyweight.
Yes.
He's going up, you might as well fight him.
Yeah, I don't think Andy Ruiz can get down to 205.
Not a chance.
I feel a bit sorry for it because I think, it's a bit of a pointless for both of them. I think Santos gets slated for something he hasn't done just because Jones is that good. And I think, I don't think I'd like to be Jon Jones' a sense, because people are already backing you to win. I think you want to go in and people go, oh, you fight him, that's a hard fight. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think people's going, oh, another fight for you. They're not even that bothered because they just know he's going to predict a win.
And I think that's been seen when you look at the casuals' reaction to this main event.
Yeah.
I don't think this has captured the fans.
No.
Partly because I don't think people see it as being competitive, but also as well, I don't think, Thiago, again, not through his own means, but one of the things the UFC did really well with the Anthony Smith fight was they really sold Smith as that sort of everyman underdog, that Rocky Balboa getting the chance of a lifetime.
Yeah. This is what every light heavyweight fighter now fighting Jon Jones should be made, but you can only do it the once, really, can't you?
And people knew Smith was going to be a mismatch, but they were willing to buy into that narrative. Mm-hmm. Thiago, because he doesn't speak good English,
there's
because
no
we've already used that, there's no market for it.
Yeah, I think you'd buy this if you were to buy the BT, to watch the star power full fight card, and it's just a plus that Jones is on the main card, but you're just watching Jon Jones. I think that's what you would build this fight as, Jon Jones fighting, not Jones versus whoever. Which
is strange because for how good Jon Jones is, he's not like in quote commas entertaining. He's dominant, but you don't go in there expecting like Jon Jones to deliver like this highlight reel knockout in the way a Francis Ngannou would.
But the thing is, he used to be like that.
He's much more conservative.
Yeah,
because he's got a lot more to lose now.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think, after this fight, who's his next?
Heavyweight.
It's got to be heavyweight.
Yeah. I've always said I think that
or do you just remain the most dominant champion?
I think that's what he'll do. I think there's too many risks involved in moving up to heavyweight that he'll do it.
A heavyweight, if it moves to the heavyweight for him is what fans want. That's not necessarily the best for the fighter. Even though it'd be great if he went up and won a heavyweight title for himself, I think he could now potentially, we don't know who's on the corner, but he could potentially sit on that light heavyweight crown for another 5 years.
A little part of me thinks if he was going to go to heavyweight, he might have done it by now.
Yeah. And he won't because there's too many dangerous faces at light heavyweight.
But do you think if you were Jon Jones, would you be frightened to take on anyone? Even at heavyweight?
I think you would.
I think I'd have that much confidence. Don't get us wrong, you might get into a heavyweight fight, win against someone in the top 10, get a split decision, think, do you know what? He's not as good as him and I need to step back down to light heavyweight. But I think at this present point, if he went in and, like I say, another win, I think I'd probably think, I'm going to give heavyweight a shot because I'll never know till I get there.
I think they would because of what we were seeing with Anthony Joshua. The moment you lose one fight, all those sort of demons come to the fore.
But he hasn't lost that, that's what I'm saying yet. So would you not think if he win here, do you not think he would?
I wouldn't know.
No?
Because I have to be honest, I think Jon Jones, dare I say Jon Jones' fandom is probably the most fair weather in the UFC. I mean, there's a lot of people who like him only because he's the best.
Yeah.
And I think if he was to lose, then all the stuff about his like drug cheating and hit and run stuff, that'll all start coming to the fore again.
I just think to keep him excited as well, I don't know if you'd get bored just being the light heavyweight champion.
I tell you one thing that I think may play on Jon Jones' mind is that DC has been heavyweight and light heavyweight champion. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if there's a little thought in his mind that's like, DC's done it and I want to do it as well.
But he could
because DC will always have that against him.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I totally agree. Yeah. I think that because if you remember, after Jon beat DC the second time, he was the one who was calling out Brock Lesnar saying, I want to go up to heavyweight.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And then DC did all that instead.
Yeah.
But you could also argue and say, well, the lad who did it, DC, I beat him. So you could also say he's done it for us. The man who was the heavyweight and light heavyweight champion, I beat.
Yeah. So the person
I don't need to
not
go.
The best because I beat him kind of thing. Yeah.
I think it's quite telling that we're talking about these sort of hypothetical fights instead of this one. It just sort of shows just how, dare I say, how much of a non-event this main event is, which is a shame because Thiago Santos,
he's good.
He can crack.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of power.
We might be coming here next time we're here and saying, what happened?
Well, there's that thing as well, is if Santos wins, suddenly his fan base shoots up and everyone's like, oh, no, I always thought he was going to win. I always gave him that little chance. He was 16-1, I put a pound on him. Like, you never know what can happen. And fights like this sometimes...
He's got more chance than Anthony Smith does.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the more this goes on, the more Jones keeps winning, the more chance he's got to someone knock him off the pedestal, because I think he might go too reserved because he's so, like I say, he's got so much to lose. Or he might get that confident of what you say won't happen, of him not underestimating, but just cutting back a bit because...
Like, I don't personally know, you might know better. Does Jon Jones, even against someone like Anthony Smith, does he train the same way?
He should.
The same intensity as he would again,
I don't.
If he was preparing for DC.
You should, but I think it's not that you detrain when you're fighting the lads. I think, but when you're fighting someone and you're the underdog, you overtrain. Right. Whereas I don't think you'll overtrain can be bad for you as well. But I don't know. I really don't know.
So do you think Jon Jones is going in this camp as well?
I think just mediocre. Not as much as when he was chasing the title, I don't think.
I think he chops and changes his camps based on who he's fighting.
Yeah.
So, like with Vitor, for example, he knew Vitor was a striking expert, so he took him down. Mm-hmm. He knew DC was a grappler, so he kept it standing.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah.
But I think a lot of those people were, because of the names they were as well. Again, this isn't
the bigger name.
Yeah, I don't want to kind of shit on Thiago Santos, but when you're fighting someone that's like a Vitor Belfort, it's like, you know what, I need to put in more training, I need to put in more effort. Yeah. Is Jon Jones getting these fighters now where it's like Anthony Smith and stuff, where it's like, these aren't the highest level of opponent in this way?
It's also like, do I train hard because I can't get beat off these lads?
That's true.
Do you know what I mean?
But Thiago Santos is going in training.
How good his training now will probably be better. He might be coming in better than he's ever been.
Yeah.
This is a chance of a lifetime.
Yeah. I do think he has benefited from moving up to light heavyweight.
Yeah.
I think he was somebody who struggled with the weight cut.
Yeah. He's wild, and it's the wild ones that could cause upset.
I mean that Jimmy Manuwa fight.
I know.
Yeah.
My one concern is that Jimmy Manuwa was rocking him in that fight. Santos was hurt on a number of occasions, and Jon Jones hits just as hard.
Jon Jones, if he gets all the go, Jon Jones is going to roll him over. But I think it's just if Santos gets that chance to catch first and follow it up. But
I think Jones got more in his arsenal as well.
Yeah,
chucking at you. So
yeah,
you've got
I think
you've got knees, elbows, hands, feet.
He's dangerous.
Yeah.
If there's one weakness Jon Jones has, though, it's sort of medium range boxing. Jon's good at using his reach, so he'll hammer Santos with a lot of kicks if he's at distance. If he's close, he'll engage the clinch. If Santos keeps it at sort of middle ground in the same way that Gus did,
definitely.
that's where Jon has problems. And DC did the same as well in the second fight.
Yeah, I think Jones knows that though.
Yeah.
And I think he tries, like you say, because it's either the clinch or it's keeping them at bay. I think he'll try and avoid that. But it's what Santos does, I think.
Santos is, at the moment Santos throws some sort of wild spinning kick, Jon's going to latch onto it and take him down.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Jon, second round submission.
I'm going to say second round stoppage.
By strikes.
Yes.
I know I said I would never bet against Jon Jones. But I don't want to... A little part of me just see, in my head, is envision just one of those wild strikes hitting Jon Jones. And then... Nah, I can't. Jon Jones.
What would be better, before we finish, what would be better for the UFC? For
Santos winning.
Yeah.
Santos winning.
Santos winning to really change things up.
Well, it would change things up, but also as well from the UFC's perspective, Jones Santos too would do big numbers.
Yeah. I'll go for Jones because how can you not?
Because you just said earlier on you can't go against him, so you would look like you're...
Yeah, but... it's impossible to go against Jon Jones, I think.
For this fight, definitely.
And that's all the time that we have for the UFC 239. This is our preview show. On the whole, though, it can't be denied. It's a great card.
It's a fantastic card. I think it really is.
I think for your names in there as well, you've got draws for some of even the casual fans. So.
Did you say draws there?
Draws?
You are the British Brendan Shaw.
Oh my God, because I'm going to get that.
I am.
People tell me anyway.
No, I think it's a great fight card. I think it really is. I hope it lives up to what it should be.
I certainly hope so as well, because I think with 235, similar sort of card,
Doesn't
a lot of star power, but the fights didn't deliver.
It happens. You see it more often than not. There's potential of the biggest upset of the year.
Yeah, could be.
I still think at the moment, what is it? Wonderboy Pettis.
Yeah,
that's probably the biggest one for me so far.
This could, in fact, if that was the upset, that probably would be more than the upset of the year.
Yeah, Thiago Santos beating Jon Jones is in that sort of Sarah GSP, Bisping Rockhold territory.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a fantastic card. I'm hopefully catch some of it when I get the chance to, and then we'll be back in 3 weeks' time, I should say, when we talk about UFC 240. Max Holloway versus Frankie Edgar. Cyborg's back as well. Yeah, that could be an interesting one to watch.
I love Frankie, but Frankie's another one that could be one of his last fights.
It's going to be his last chance.
Yeah.
And we'll happily get round to doing that in 2 to 3 weeks' time. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. This has been the INC Preview Show. I've been Karl Bainbridge.
Tim Close.
Max Grant.
And we hope to see you again for 240. Bye-bye for now.
Easy cool, connect them dry bones. Easy cool, connect them.